So let's have a quick little chat. Be grateful. This is a positive message for the day. Be grateful of the lessons because they are your blessings at the same time. Your lessons are your blessings. I said it that way to make it rhyme. I am grateful for the hard lessons that I have learned in dealing with people who betrayed me, who mistreated me, who misused me. I'm grateful for those lessons. And once you become grateful for those lessons, it takes you out of the mindset of victimization. Because all of those lessons that I learned last year, all of those lessons that I learned last year, the year before that, all of those lessons that I learned, they brought me to the place that I am now. So always be grateful for these hard lessons because there's a blessing that's right there. See, had I not gone through that, I would not be able to value the things that I have now. I would not be able to check myself when I get out of line. You understand what I'm saying? I had to come to my boyfriend because we lived together, and I had to come back to him about something that happened. We had a disagreement a while back, a long time ago, and I said some things in that disagreement that weren't right. Okay? And I had to go back to him and apologize for that. Because even though he had forgotten about it, if I'm walking around here calling out other people on their bullshit and their lack of compassion and their lack of Christ inside of them, I'm not talking about in the religious sense, I'm talking about in the consciousness sense. Okay, real consciousness. When you tap into that divine feminine energy that gives you the wisdom to understand and see what you're going through. The entire crucifixion ritual was crucifying the energy of the black woman. Truthfully, that was crucifying the Christ energy because the Christ energy is feminine. You know? But that's another story. But I had to come back to him and I had to apologize for my actions towards him, even though he had forgotten about it. But I still went back to him because I have to be the example that I'm talking about within other people. I have to be the change, rather. That's the term. I have to be the change that I want to see in other people. You understand what I'm saying? If you walk it and talk it, you better motherfucking live it. And I had to go to him and apologize for some of those things that I said because they weren't right. They weren't right. And I don't think people know how much an apology can really just, it can shift and change the energy if it's coming from a genuine place. Not if you're saying shit like this, well, if you think I did something, like the Oprah Winfrey type of apology, like she told Monique, well, if you think I did something to you, what the fuck you talking about? You did do something to me. Ain't no thing. That's gaslighting at its finest. But be grateful for these lessons because I am grateful that I went through all of that shit in that conscious community. And you know what? I'm not even upset about it anymore. I'm not angry about it anymore because they played their part to get me to where I am at now. Yeah, I got a lot of shit off my chest. I said what I had to say, and now I'm good. But everything is a lesson and an example, and it's an opportunity to learn, to expand your consciousness, and to really relieve your heart of those heavy burdens so your heart can really be light as a feather. I don't don't even feel a lot of anger towards my family members anymore who were abusive towards me throughout my life. A lot of that anger has lifted up as well. When I reference certain times and things they've done for the sake of giving people an example or explaining something, yeah, sometimes that may come back up, but for the most part, because my life is go flowing in the right direction. See, I had this powerful witch who was a friend of mine. Her name was Miss Marie. She passed away. She was a friend of mine. She was a neighbor. She passed away this year, I think. Yeah, this year in April. And she told me, she said, your life is in an upswing. And she said, don't let nobody, get in and destroy your joy. She said, your life is in an upswing. She predicted that, and it is. My life is in an upswing. And let me be clear. I'm not one of those people to say, oh, I'm better than you, or neener. You know what I mean? Because if you're going through a lot of upheaval and lessons right now, we're going to call them lessons. If you're going through a lot of that stuff right now, your blessing is not that far off. It's not that far off, but it's up to you to see it. You got to use your mind to see it for what it is. And I know sometimes when you're going through, I got to go in a few minutes. I know sometimes when you're going through different types of lessons and learning, I know sometimes it can blind you, the frustration and the anger and the and just the lesson in general can blind you from what's at the end of that tunnel. And what's at the end of that tunnel is your salvation and your blessing. And I don't mean salvation in the Christian sense per se, nothing against that, but I'm talking about salvation of self. Not somebody giving you salvation, but you're giving yourself salvation by relieving yourself of all of that which burdens your heart. And that is the true meaning of your heart being light as a feather. You understanding that some people ain't shit, understanding that some people treat you like shit, but also understanding we are self-created deities. And a lot of these obstacles that we choose, that's the key word. We choose. I chose to go over there to the conscious community. I chose to do, nobody made me do anything. I chose to intertwine myself into that so I could learn some of the things that I needed to learn. Because see, I'm not a follower. So the breakdown and the disintegration of relationships with people, not sexual, but relationships, general relationships, whether they be rapports or associations or friendships, that's okay. That's okay because nothing lasts forever. But those people that want to hang on to that, they want to hang on to the lesson, you'll never receive your blessing. If you're trying to hang on to a spiritual teacher, you're never going to get the blessing because you ain't getting the lesson. I'm not a follower. So the breakdown that I had within that community was all prophetic and destined. That was supposed to happen. And whether they like me, hate me, or not, their influence has no control over me anymore. Because now I understand that it was never supposed to go any further than what it did. See, this is what happens when you have self-realizations and when you understand the lesson is also the blessing. So be grateful for these hard obstacles and lessons sometimes. Be grateful for that. I've had many of them, starting when I was 10 years old. Even before that, when my grandmother died, that was the first time that I had to learn lessons on dealing with abandonment. Because I felt like she abandoned me when she died and left me in a family full of maniacs. That was the first lesson that was when I really became aware at the age of 8. So I've always had the call or the calling or the consciousness. I've always been conscious. Always. But that was just another lesson. To get through that obstacle no matter what. Then being separated from my family wrongfully when I was 11 years old. When I was put into the so-called system over some bullshit. That was another lesson that I had to learn. It traumatized me for many years until I finally got it, that this is what I was supposed to go through so I could get to the levels that I am now. So that little bit of bullshit that went on in the conscious community that hurt my feelings, that's fine. It's just another lesson. It's nothing compared to what I've been through these past 40 some fucking years. But I appreciate the lesson, and I'm grateful for the lesson. And I'm telling people out there, you should be grateful for the lesson too, as much as possible. Doesn't mean that you're not going to hurt. It doesn't mean that it's going to be hard, that it's not going to be, hard to process sometimes. It just means that you will stand in a place and say, look, eventually this will pass too. And when it does pass, when the waters do recede, you will see new growth. Because water brings life. You will see new growth. You will see new progress, and you will see new people around you that love you and will get you the things that you need. Like all that shit that went on last year with me, out of that, I came into a new, beautiful relationship with the man that I love and that loves me. And I didn't even see that coming because I had kind of put that aside. I wasn't really looking for that. But that's usually when it happens. And can't no man or woman put asunder what's for you, what's for me, and anyone else. Nobody can put that asunder. Not with their words, not with their thoughts, and not with their actions. They cannot. Because what your universe has for you is you. What my universe has for me is for me. Embrace the lesson. Embrace it. Be grateful for it, because your lesson is what's going to pay your bills. It's going to give you your prosperity. It's going to bring you your truth. And those people that did not believe in you, those people that did mistreat you, the same ones that you saw going up, they're going to be the same ones that see you going up when they're going down. And that's just how shit works. It's not about being bad or good or being a hater. It's just the constant flow of life. The constant flow of life in this matrix that we live in. If you can call it that. That word has become so general now. I'm beginning to not even want to use that anymore because everybody's using that word now, the matrix and all that. We really don't know what this place is. But we do know that you don't have to live in suffering. You don't have to live in pain. You don't have to live in unhappiness. You don't have to live in those types of low vibrating conditions. You don't. Even though most people choose to, including myself at one time, because I didn't know any better. Embrace the lesson. That's the message for today. Embrace the lesson. Embrace the enemies that it may bring your way. Because you can always learn something from enemies. And you can use them as your footstool to get to the next level. You can step on their backs to get to the next level. That is how I look at enemies. Oh, you're coming to bring me some type of lesson. Let me see what can I learn from this. Oh, you're a fake two-faced person. Okay, so what I'll do is, I will use this as a stepping stone to show other people what to look out for. You know what I mean? Never put your admiration into people at the expense of neglecting, admiring yourself and the work that you have done and the work that you continue to do. Never admire people more than you do your ancestors, because your ancestors are really the ones in the background helping you get to the level that you need to get to. We just don't know it. Embrace the lesson. That's the message for today. Thank you.